Are you struggling to learn your optimized class rotation? Are you looking for an easy guide on how to improve and learn your rotation? Or do you just want to ensure you're performing at the highest possible level? Then you need to check out the Next Action Guide add-on by my man Fonzis. The Next Action Guide helps you perform the optimal rotation by showing you which ability to use one after another. The rotation is updated and maintained by some of the top players in the world for each class and is available for each DPS and tank spec. I'll be specifically showing off the Unholy and Blood DK specs and some of the unique features for the Next Action Guide in this video. The Next Action Guide is a square you see on my UI here. It shows the icon for next ability to hit, along with the keybind you have set for that ability. For Unholy, the Next Action Guide, or NAG for short, tracks our diseases for you and calculates when it is a gain to reapply them for a better snapshot. The add-on calculates the percentage gain of a reapplication before committing, so you never lose value. You can see here it tells me to outbreak after I have my Trinket procs, Fallen Crusader, Synapse Springs, and Blood Fury for the best possible snapshot. It also optimizes Gargoyle use and Dark Transformation by tracking all your major procs and on-use cooldowns. Dark Transformation uptime is maximized and maintained by avoiding clipping the transformation or wasting any Shadow Infusion stacks. It optimizes Synapse Springs and Blood Fury or Berserking by lining them up with Disease Snapshot windows and Gargoyle. Runes are all tracked individually to avoid desyncing and optimize using things like Blood Tap or Plague Leech. Once you hit execute, Soul Reaper is kept in a strict sequence to make sure you always have the rune you need for it on cooldown. The add-on calculates the time to 35% and the time to kill, so you're maximizing your Soul Reaper casts and avoiding wasting a cast as the boss is dying. Horn of Winter is recommended to fill empty globals for additional runic power, and Empower Rune Weapon is optimized for moments where you otherwise would have been rune starved, or moments we have all our procs rolling. Empowered Rune Weapon is also optimized for the most uses based on the kill time. If you're an AoE, the NAG will automatically swap to your AoE rotation once 4 or more targets are detected. It automatically tracks whether the other targets have diseases ticking on them and tells you to Pestilence or Blood Boil if you're using the Rolling Blood talent. It will tell you to Icy Touch to convert your Frost runes into Death runes for long AoE bursts, and it also tracks how long the pack will live and recommends Death and Decay accordingly. In short, this add-on turns your rotation into a perfectly timed sequence that replicates what a high-end Unholy DK would track with timers and weak auras, only faster, without error, and automatically every global. It ensures your diseases are always optimal, your Gargoyle is always used at the best possible moments, Soul Reaper always lands during execute, and your runes and resources never desync or get wasted, and you can focus on your mechanics while your DPS is maximized. Now let's talk about NAG's custom Blood DK rotations. The Blood DK NAG has 2 rotations it swaps between. The DPS rotation is your go-to for 1 to 3 targets, kicking off with defensive essentials like Bone Shield uptime to stay alive, then slamming Death Strike at low health for that crucial heal, while prioritizing Execute Burst through Soul Reaper's predicted timing to hit the debuff window perfectly as the target dips below 35% health. It smartly chooses between Death Siphon and Death Strike based on attack power thresholds. If your AP scales high enough to make Death Siphon punch harder, then that's what you'll see in the NAG display, but it flips to Death Strike for survival if you're hurting. Disease management stays tight with Outbreak to apply Frost Fever and Blood Plague for steady ticks, and Crimson Scourge procs get optimized for Death and Decay's free damage without having to spend a rune, falling back to Blood Boil only to refresh the snapshot if your AP makes the dots hit harder. During Dancing Rune Weapon, it mirrors your big hitters like Soul Reaper as prio to make sure it's the first cast, and Rune Strike for amplified DPS, with Blood Tap converting runes on the fly, and Empower Rune Weapon refreshing everything to keep the pressure rolling. Multi-target touches ensure any adds get dotted without stealing from your main target focus. The NAG will flip to the Blood DK AoE rotation for 4+ enemies automatically, and it ramps up the spread, starting with the same defensive backbone and low HP Death Strike, then layering an Outbreak for initial dots and Crimson Scourge for Death and Decay's AoE, or Blood Boil to refresh snapshots for max multi-dot damage when your AP is peaking. Dancing Rune Weapon turns it into a monster, mirroring Soul Reaper for execute, Outbreak for Dancing Rune Weapon's dot application, Pestilence to spread Dancing Rune Weapon's dots to multi-target, and Blood Boil for multi-target DPS. Multi-target dot refresh scales the Pain with Blood Boil for spread or renewal in 3+ enemy packs, using snapshots to ensure high AP refreshes crank out more damage. What makes this system shine is NAG's magic. It crunches split-second decisions like AP thresholds to swap Death Siphon over Death Strike or Death Coil over Rune Strike when scaling favors the bigger hit, dot checks to apply refresh for max ticks without wasting GCDs, rune counts to convert Frost and Unholy into Death runes for Death Siphon via Death Strike or Blood Tap, and HP thresholds to flip Death Strike for survival at low health over pure DPS, and enemy counts to trigger Blood Boil for dot spread if adds lack them while keeping your main target locked down. For most Blood DKs, this is a game changer. It automates the high brain power math to juice every ounce of DPS from the encounter, balancing DPS and survival so you can focus on the fight instead of micromanaging. Whether you're bursting a boss in raids or cleaning up adds in dungeons, Nag handles the heavy lifting in milliseconds, letting you dominate with precision. And finally, you might be wondering, where do I get the Nag add-on? Well, it's real simple. You can get the add-on from the Wago link in the description, or from the Ebonhold Discord, also linked in the description, where you can find direct support for any issues and constant updates for all classes. The add-on is free to use on a target dummy, but if you want to use it elsewhere, you need a subscription. Use code KetchupChips for 10% off. Link is in the description.